K.R. Shivaraman. So Professor Shivaraman moved to Kodaikanal in 1965 to undertake solar physics research. His PhD pursued at KSO on 5-minute oscillation of the solar atmosphere. Thereafter, his interest diversified in other areas like solar and stellar chromosphere, solar variability, and solar corona. He, along with Professor Surendra Gupta, measured the surface rotation and differential rotation of the sun with an unprecedented accuracy using the Kodaikanal white light images of the sun, which, as you have already heard, by that time, spanned a period of 8 solar cycles. Besides, he also conducted photometric studies of many comets, including the Halley's Comet during its apparition in 1985-86, and he retired from IIA in 1991 as senior professor and acting director. Let us express our gratitude towards Professor Shivaraman. Next with, okay.
Yeah, so we had contacted Professor Shivaraman to send us his message. He was not feeling well, like he had some issues where pain, back, hip pain, etc. But we will continue contacting and getting his voice message and his message through audio as such. And he actually sent his best wishes for the program. So in future, through the year, we will be collecting some of the clips from various people and putting it out as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Subramaniam. Next, we would like to honor Professor Jagdev Singh. He was actually supposed to join us, and I think he had to undergo a surgery because of which he couldn't be here today. So his tenure at the Kodaikanal Observatory spanned from 1974 until his retirement in 2011, during which he played a pivotal role in maintaining and modernizing all the solar instruments with remarkable dedication. So he has collaborated with the technical staff in Kodaikanal, Kavalur, and as well as Bangalore. So this is what our director was talking in the morning, that he basically, so there are a lot of staff who worked at the observatory and then they use their skills to set up other field stations. So Professor Singh actually designed and installed the twin telescope at Kodaikanal, which the pictures of which you saw in the morning. He facilitated simultaneous capture of broadband and calcium K images of the sun using CCTV cameras. He procured and deployed 2 H-alpha telescopes from China, augmenting the observatory's observational capabilities. As a testament to his foresight, Professor Singh pioneered the development and implementation of state-of-the-art digitization units at Kodaikanal, enabling the digitization of vast archival data, including white light images, calcium K and H-alpha images, going back to 1904. He also led 10 expeditions worldwide, including to Antarctica, to observe total solar eclipses, which further enriches the scientific understanding of solar phenomena. So let us pay our gratitude to his tireless efforts that have left an indelible mark on solar physics. Professor Surendra Gupta. He joined IIA as a senior research assistant in 1979, and he was the co-investigator of the collaborative project on measurement and analysis of 82 years of white light solar images, along with Professor Shivaraman, who was the PI. So he also collaborated with Professor Jagdev Singh to study H-alpha filaments and their eruptions. He was the resident scientist of Kodaikanal Observatory for during part of his tenure. And besides regular administration, he also helped organize several workshops and winter schools in the Kodaikanal campus. So thank you, Professor Surendra Gupta. So next we have Professor K. Sundaraman. He is with us today. So please, I would invite him to come on stage and receive the memento as a token of our appreciation. So Professor Sundaraman has worked here for 32 years, from 1982 to 2014. Next, we have Professor K. And he has progressed from the role of the senior research assistant to that of an associate to come on stage. Notably, from 2006 to 14, received the memento as a token of our appreciation. He served as scientist in charge and head of KSO, where his responsibilities encompass research, teaching, local administration, which is quite a bit to be doing together. So he was wearing several hats. For 10 years, starting 1982, he conducted observations at the Solar Tower Tunnel telescope and also spectroscopy under the guidance of none other than Professor K.R. Shivaraman. Over the years, he has provided guidance to nearly 300 master's students, 50 MPhil students in their dissertation work at KSO. So he has been a very good mentor to them. And he has been awarded several, he has been he has been the recipient of several awards, including the Fellow of Royal Astronomical Society of London, the J.C. Bose Memorial Award by the Tamil Nadu State Council of Science and Technology. Thank you, Professor Sunil. To honor Professor K.B. Ramesh. Professor Ramesh, I invite you to come on stage. Dedicated his career to the study of solar terrestrial relations and immersed himself in uninterrupted observations for up to 16 hours a day, because he was measuring the Earth's magnetic field. So the dynamics of, even though the sunlight is available only for 6 to 8 hours, the distribution of energy due to the sun in the Earth's environment necessitates continuous monitoring of ionosphere and geomagnetic activity. He was actually further buoyed by the support of the KSO's dedicated staff, without which it would not have been possible. Thank you, Professor K.B. Ramesh. I'd like to invite Dr. N. Gopal Swami on stage. We organized the inaugural National Solar Physics Symposium in 1985, which actually Assume the pivotal role at so Ebenezer has not been able to come. He was the resident scientist in charge from 2018 until 2023, until last year's October, till his voluntary retirement. So during his time, the radio antennas were installed. So now we have a small radio observatory in Kodaikanal. And also, he also navigated a lot of land disputes during his time. So even if he's not there, let us express our thanks to Ebenezer. Hassan, also a former director. Yeah, please do come on stage. So during his tenure as the director of IIA from 2006 to 2012, Professor Hassan spearheaded a comprehensive overhaul of the infrastructure at the observatory. So he implemented a series of transformative initiatives, which included the digitization photographic white light calcium and H alpha plates spanning a century. So it was during his time that Professor Jagdev Singh was given the charge of this digitization. Then he also facilitated the procurement of advanced astronomical equipment like the Twin Telescope 1, and a 50-centimeter telescope to enable regular observations at KSO. He also undertook the thorough renovation of the auditorium, which we have been since using for our summer and winter schools and different conferences. The projection system was upgraded, the library was revamped, Wi-Fi connectivity across the campus was brought in to facilitate access to digital resources. The guest house and the Evershade Hall were overhauled, and there was a new guest house, the INM guest house that we call it now, which was completed in 2012 to accommodate the growing influx of visitors and researchers to KSO. So under Professor Hassan's visionary leadership, this strategic initiative not only modernized the facilities at KSO, but also positioned the observatory as a premium center for astronomical research and education. Thank you, Professor Hassan, for your contribution. Like to mention Professor R. Ramesh, who was the professor in charge of Kodaikanal Observatory from 2017 until 2023. 2023. He couldn't be here because he is busy with the VLC data gathering. And during his time, actually, the Kodaikanal, the observatory was just known as Kodaikanal Observatory. So during his time, the observatory came to be officially known as the Kodaikanal Solar Observatory. So let us also thank Professor R. Ramesh. Next, I would like to honor Professor Dipankar Banerjee. Please come on stage. Yeah, so Professor Banerjee's journey at IIA began in 2004 when he joined as a faculty. His first posting was actually in Kodaikanal Observatory in this picturesque town. And there were, of course, challenges of limited internet connectivity, unstable power supply, and stuff like that. But he still found living in Kodaikanal a very enjoyable experience. And he recalls taking walks to the town and around the lake. Maybe that stirred a lot of gray cells in him. And he found solace in watching the sunset from the auditorium. Within a year, he was transferred to Bangalore, but he kept feeling this pressing need to enhance the infrastructure in Kodaikanal. And he had the unwavering support of the then director, Professor Hassan, and they embarked on a mission to upgrade the campus. And basically, the auditorium was revamped, the INM guest house, and all these Evershed guest house and Wi-Fi and water facilities, they were all undertaken. So after 2010, after Professor Jagdev Singh's retirement, or even before that, he was tasked with the digitization project, and he found himself visiting Kodaikanal more frequently. So, and during this time, he also inducted a lot of his students to actually use this data from the digitization project. So, notably, his students, Dr. Shudip Mandal, Vibhuti Jha, Ritesh Patel, and Shubhima Chatterjee, they have all utilized this calcium K and white light data to publish several seminal papers on long-term variability in prestigious international peer-reviewed journals. So thank you, Professor Banerjee. Next, it's time to honor Professor J. Javaraya. Professor Javaraya, please do come on stage. So he commenced his tenure at IIA in the capacity of research assistant, culminating in his retirement in 2015 as associate professor. Throughout his distinguished career, he leveraged KSO white light data to conduct important investigations into the phenomena such as solar rotation, meridional flow, and sunspots. Furthermore, he also carried out public engagement by fulfilling duties, the museum visitor duty for an extended duration, and which he enjoyed very much. And we would also like to thank him because yesterday when we were coming, him and a lot of other people, I would also name them, when we were coming here by the bus. So it was an air conditioned bus when we started, but actually after lunch the AC stopped working and the windows were, there were glass windows, you could not open them. And there were like several people, there were senior people, including him, Professor Hiremat, Professor KB Ramesh, who were actually, sweating a lot. And we offered them, do you want to take a taxi or not? But they decided to stay back with us and continue the journey in that sweltering heat. So yeah, our appreciations. To invite Dr. Hiremat. Yeah, please do come on stage. His career at KSO commenced in 1982, delving into the profound scientific contributions derived from the analysis of the Kodai data. So notably, his research has led to publication of significant discoveries in journals, peer-reviewed journals, such as ANA letters, marking a milestone in scientific inquiry. He has also supported the digitization efforts of the integrated calcium K profiles. By harnessing the digitization technique, he has helped researchers to delve deeper into solar dynamics and chromospheric phenomena. So in his early career at KSO, his experience as a custodian of cultural heritage at the Kodaikanal Museum. So these reminiscences underscore the profound impact of preserving and sharing the rich legacy of history with the visitors and fostering Kodaikanal's cultural legacy. So thank you, Professor Hiramat. To please come on stage. Professor Raju commenced his career at IIA in 1994 as a visiting fellow and concurrently established a vital connection with the observatory. He used to visit, he was in Bangalore, but he used to visit Kodaikanal multiple times and actively participated in observations. And he has mentored many project students, intern students at KSO. His utilization of Kodaikanal calcium K data resulted in publication of several papers, I think including one which is very recent in Abjad Letters. And he has participated in the observational campaigns at Solar Tunnel Telescope, the calcium K latitude spectra and prominence observations. Let me just quote a few. And his dedication to research remains unwavering as he continues to use the data even today after his retirement. So thank you, Professor Raju. Surya Narayana, I don't think he's around. He's not around, but let me mention, he started his journey at the observatory in 1986 in the role of research assistant. And he contributed to the efforts at the Spectro Lab, where regular observations of the sun in calcium K and H were carried out. And he dedicated 18 years of his career to KSO until his transfer to Gori Bidani from here. He has collaborated with Professor Hiremat and written a few papers utilizing the sunspot and flare data, which were published in Astronomy and Astrophysics. So thank you, Sri Surya Narayana. Okay, so I would also here like to honor Professor Rangarajan. He's also not here with us today. So let me mention that he was the convener of the Kodaikanal Observatory Solar Astronomy School for an extensive period. And we used to conduct national and international, which was attended by both national and international students. And he demonstrated a commitment to enhancing infrastructure. He oversaw the renovation of the older IMM building, transforming it into a guest house with modern facilities. Additionally, he played a pivotal role in securing fast internet access, orchestrating the refurbishment of the auditorium, Mickey Smith Guest House, and so on and so forth. During his tenure as the professor in charge at the observatory, he oversaw the installation of the H alpha telescope, a significant milestone in advancing observational capabilities. Actually, his student, he was collaborating with his student, Dr. Nagaraju, who is presently also a member of the solar physics group, and my colleague. They embarked on a journey into the development of a spectropolarimeter at the Tunnel Telescope. And this was integral to Nagaraju's PhD thesis, and their collaborative efforts have yielded noteworthy results. And he supported the renovation of the mechanical workshop, modernizing the infrastructure, etc. So his contribution extended beyond the administrative duties because he also delivered a lot of lectures at the winter school that we as new early career faculty members used to organize in the observatory uh, since many years. So let us thank Professor Rangarajan. Yeah, so now I would actually go over to the former students at KSO. As you know, the students are the heart of any institution, and these students have all used the Kodaikanal facilities to further their research and their PhD thesis. So the first person I would like to call on stage is Dr. K. Shankar Subramaniam. So his association started with the solar polarization workshop in 1998 that was organized by IIA Bangalore. So he presented his work and he carried out during his tenure at IIA, and the Kodaikanal was the center of his work. He was basically a student of Professor Venkata Krishnan, who also couldn't be here today because of health reasons. And together they emphasize the importance of including an oxide layer in modeling measurements, polarimetry measurements, instrument measurements. And they carried out, so the measurements were actually carried out by an ellipsometry that was developed, the technique that was developed for this reason. And they had a paper together that was published as a proceeding, but it received a lot of attention. Thereafter, he did an internship at the National Solar Observatory, the same place Professor Leibacher was from, you saw in the morning. And so basically he kept on working on this advanced Stokes polarimeter at the Dunn Solar Telescope, which was at that time the best spectropolarimeter. So he had the chance to work with the data, understand the inversion code, and later he modified it to use with the Kodaikanal data to retrieve the magnetic field vector from it. So he has also worked towards developments of quartz plates, wave plates here in-house at the observatory, interferometric techniques for testing wave plates, Zimpole type polarimetry, and so on. So he believes that his exciting solar observations that had started at the Kodaikanal Tower telescope were a modest beginning to measure, as a modest beginning to measure the photospheric magnetic field from ground, has catapulted him to do coronal magnetic field measurements from space with Aditya L1. So as we know, he is now the principal scientist of the Aditya L1 project. So it is very heartening to know that some part of that achievement, probably the legacy comes from Kodaikanal. So thank you, Dr. Shankar. Next, let us honor Dr. R. Sridharan. Sridharan, please come on stage. So he joined IAA as a PhD student in 1994 and worked on his thesis, Techniques for Achieving High Spatial Resolution, under the supervision of Professor Venkata Krishnan. So Shankar and Sridharan were both students of Professor Venkata Krishnan. And he has worked on speckle and interferometric imaging of small-scale solar features. He also designed and fabricated a re-imaging unit at the IIA workshop and demonstrated the diffraction limited imaging with KTT. Now his student, Ms. Saraswati Kalyan, is carrying out balloon-based experiments to measure the variation of atmospheric turbulence with height at KSO. So presently, Sridharan is my colleague. So thank you, Sridharan, for your contributions. Please do come on stage. So his PhD work was carried out under the guidance of Professor Rangarajan at KTT during 2003 and 2007. During this time, he carried out the development and installation of a dual beam polarimeter and conducted spectropolarimetric observation of sunspots in H alpha and nearby spectral lines. And his work basically emphasizes the importance of multi-line spectropolarimetric observation. So he still continues to work with the Tunnel telescope along with his student Harsh Mathur and other people. So we have this legacy again, Professor Rangarajan, Nagaraju, Harsh, so on and so forth. So thank you, Nagaraju. Next, let me invite Dr. G. Sindhuja. Sindhuja, yeah. So Sindhuja was a PhD student at the observatory from 2009 to 2015, where she made observations using the new technique of observing the sun using calcium K line profiles as a function of latitude and integrated over the visible disk, visible longitude of the disk. She developed a semi-automated code to calibrate, analyze, and derive calcium K parameters from spectroscopic observation obtained over a period of 23 years. Later, she was a postdoctoral researcher at IIA Bangalore before moving to NASA as a postdoc. So actually, Sindhuja, it is really nice that Sindhuja could make it for today's felicitation ceremony, in spite of the family health emergencies that are going on. So thank you, Sindhuja. Only it makes we should even then remind ourselves of their contributions. So there's Dr. Hemant Prithvi, who worked on his PhD thesis from 2015 to 2020 under the supervision of Professor K.B. Ramesh, Ravindra, who is the present professor in charge, as well as Nagaraju. Then we have Dr. Vibhuti Kumar Jha, who was a student of Professor Banerjee, Dipankar Banerjee. He worked his thesis from 2017 to 2023, I think, and he worked on sunspot tilt angles from white light images. Then there is Dr. Shubhit Mondal, who worked on his PhD thesis from 2013 to 2018. Although I learned that his PhD thesis itself is not on Kodaikanal data, but he has published several papers in international journals on white light digitized data, sunspots, and their classification according to area. So basically, this is a legacy again. So Professor Ravindra developed a code, and there were several people who worked on it. So you see, it's never a single person. So it requires a whole group of people to develop things. And I think some of the movies from his work you would have seen in the movie that you saw in the morning that was created by the Scope. Then let me also mention Dr. Shubhama Chatterjee. He also worked on H-alpha calcium K filaments and also the butterfly diagram along with Shudeep and his supervisor, Professor Banerjee. And then we have Dr. Muthu Priyal. So she was planning to come here but could not join us actually. So she started working in the digitization project at the Kodaikanal Observatory between 2009 and 14. And she had been involved in studying the sun's chromospheric layer variations over a long period of time, so 1904 from 2007, using calcium K spectroheliograms. So she has used this whole century-long data archive. And during her PhD, she had the honor to be guided by Professor Jagdev Singh, Professor Ravindra, Professor Dipankar Banerjee. So this involved developing an automated software actually to analyze 100 years of data, and that had to take into account the variation due to sky conditions, photographic emulsions, instruments, limb darkening, etc. So the raw images that you saw in the movie were what we had, and they required a lot of processing to actually get some science out of it. So they developed a new technique called the equal contrast technique, I think along with Professor Singh, Jagdev Singh, for this purpose. And this data set is actually the longest data set that was analyzed in understanding the solar chromosphere in a detailed way. So lastly, amongst the students, we have a continuing student who is going to submit his thesis soon, is Mr. Harsh Mathur, who is working with Dr. K. Nagaraju, but is also not here today. So he basically achieved simultaneous spectropolarimetry observations in 3 different spectral regions. And he has utilized the polarimeter developed by Hemant Prithvi and also the tip tilt correction system. He carried out spectropolarimetric observation of several sunspots simultaneously in H-alpha and calcium-2 lines. And he is going to submit his thesis soon. So with Harsh, we already have 3 generations of supervisors and students, starting from Professor Rangarajan and Dr. Nagaraju. Actually, there is another legacy like that, starting from Professor Hassan to Professor Dipankar Banerjee. And there is Tanmoy. Tanmoy is currently my colleague, and Tanmoy's student, Saurabh. So, 4 generations. So it's really nice to see all of them together. So after this, let me honor the other staff, the administrative and the people who helped out with the administration and other observations as well. So first we have Mr. N. Shivaraj. So Mr. Shivaraj, please do come on stage. So he was taking care of the 24-inch solar tower tunnel telescope at the observatory, which was installed by Grubb Parsons in 1958 and which was revamped in 2006. So he was also actually traveling in that bus yesterday, and I also didn't see him complain at all. So yeah, thank you, Mr. Shivraj. Mr. Abbas, yeah, please to come on stage. He was involved in the development of the analog magnetograph and also trafficking devices during 1980 with Professor J.C. Bhattacharya. And he took up electrical works from 1968 to 2005 until his retirement. So we express your gratitude to you, Mr. Abbas. Andrews. So Mr. Andrews joined the observatory in 1980, and since then he had been working for 35 years until his retirement in 2015 as driver mechanic D. Thank you. So Mr. Vincent was an administrative assistant who retired from service after 34 years of service in 2011. And he has worked mainly in the ionospheric and magnetospheric section for scientific data gathering work. So thank you, Mr. Vincent. P. Paramshivam. Mr. Paramshivam. As a junior employee in December 1959. He assisted in conducting research studies under all directors, including starting from Bappu, J.C. Bhattacharya, and helped archive their research photos. And he also had the opportunity to observe several comets, including the Halley's Comet, Ikia Seki, and the comet Bennett. His father, Mr. Parthasarathi, served for 22 years at KSO, starting from 1935, while he himself served for 40 years. And now his son Devendran completed his 40 years tenure, still continuing tenure at KSO. Their family's combined service to KSO actually totals 100 years. So that's a lot of the one family. So let us thank him. After this, we have Mr. V. Ponnurangam. He joined KSO in 1975 as a card punch operator. I can't even remember seeing a card punch machine except in the museum, in the IMM section for scientific data gathering, in addition to working as a guest house manager, civil maintenance work, security in charge from 2004 to 2010. And also in his family, he's the fourth generation of employee who have dedicated their service to the observatory. B. Mark, who he's not here. Okay, so he joined in 1956 and retired in 95, excuse me, after spending 39 years at the observatory. Then we have Mrs. G. Alphonse Mary. Yeah, she's here. Please, Mrs. Mary, come on stage. She joined the observatory as a lower division clerk in the year 1973. And after her service for 39 years, retired in 2012 as office superintendent, grade 2. So we thank you, Mrs. Mary, for your contribution. Next, we have Mrs. Sorry. Next, we have Mr. D. Loganathan, who's who joined who joined in 1979 as a daily wage worker, and 3 years later he got a permanent job at the observatory. He supported the solar tower telescope and the security section, the digitization section, spectro-calcium K and H alpha observation, and twin telescope observation. So I don't know what's left. White light observation and sun chart sketching and area measurements, one telescope, and also the museum visitor duty. So he has had an experience of, all the facilities that we have at Kodaikanal. So thank you, Mr. Loganathan. We really appreciate. Is he here, Mr. Murugan? Ah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, he joined IIA Bangalore in 1980 under the 90-inch telescope project, and he was working in the optical section during the tenure of our former director, Professor N.K. Vainu Bapu. 3 years later into his service, he was transferred to Kodaikanal, where he has been supervising our civil and maintenance work in the office and quarters. And he has also worked in the store purchase section and so on and so forth. And especially with the museum has a very close association with the observatory. So he has been explaining the exhibits in Tamil and English to the general public school students, school and college level students. In the administration section, he has helped with ledger maintenance, helping summer and winter school organization, guest room arrangements, civil works, and food arrangements, and also helping the project and intern students to, do in connection and collecting sun chart from sun chart ledgers in the library, and as well as observational photographic plates from the plate vault room. I didn't know there was a plate vault room here. And he has been working in the India-Japan digitization project, collecting data on the Wilson-Papu effect. So thank you, Mr. Murugan. J. Victor Sigamani. Mr. J. Victor Sigamani. Yeah, I think he's here. So he has worked since 1960, first 2 years as a contingent. And from 1962, he held a permanent position. He was a permanent staff for next 36 years till his retirement in 1998. He joined as a chowkidar supervisor, and later he worked on ionospheric record operator for 24 hours monitoring, where he used to record the film developing in the dark room, approximately 100 feet of film development per week. And he has gathered magnetic records, and changing the recorder film every time in the early morning. And he has also worked with Professor Bapu and Professor Bhatnagar on 20-inch stellar dome for a period of 5 years and recorded plates. He has also worked on the dipole antenna studies for radio astronomy with Professor J.H. Shastri for 5 years. So thank you, Mr. Victor Sigam. Hariharan. Mr. Hariharan, yes. Yeah, he joined in 1974. And for first 6 years, he was on daily wages. And in 1980, he was appointed permanently at the Solar Tunnel Tower Telescope in the observatory, where he has been helping with observations, data gathering, and all the researchers who have been working there. So thank you, Mr. Hari. After we have Mr. P. Michael. Yeah, he is here. So he actually has gone to Leh in 1985 for the site survey from here. And in 1995, we also participated in the total solar eclipse camp. And he has captured photoheliograms, made observations with 6-inch telescope throughout his 39 years of service. And he was also part of the site survey contingent, not just for the Hanley telescope, but also even earlier for the Cavalier Observatory. And he has precious photographs of that time. So maybe we could request him to share them with us. So thank you. Thank you. I've been reading out the contributions that were provided by all these esteemed people who have given us some snippets to read. So next we have several people for whom I don't have the write-up, and I also probably personally don't know them. I really apologize that I did not take that effort. But I would call out the names and request them to come on stage and receive the felicitation. So there, George.
I am a little unhappy that we don't have a write-up about him. Would you like to say a few words? Please, because when we had the 50 years of 1 meter telescope, we had organized a 1 day meeting. And we had several people talking about how the telescope was used and how the instrument was made, etc. But Gabriel spoke to us about how the telescope was installed, how it happened, and a huge amount of learning. And even last month, we had the coating of the primary mirror and the secondary mirror of 1 meter. You would bring it from up and down and then take it. And it was happening after a very long time. And he had the know-how about it, and we have the people. So he actually guided the entire team how to do that. So it is actually, he started from here, and then he's actually also contributed to the Handley telescope, when it was actually the factory acceptance test was there. He was in Tijon looking at the mirror and also helping out setting up the telescope. We asked him if there's any problem, what is it exactly? Do you know what happened at the factory acceptance test or at the installation? So he is the treasure trove of all the knowledge, engineering knowledge, starting from Kodaikanal up to Hanley. So I think we should capture that and then have a write-up or a longer write-up on you in due course. And thanks for coming today and continues to guide people out here. Thank you.
Yeah, after this, we would like to have Mr. M. Irunappan. So, we have Mr. N. Krishnamurthy. R.K. Martin Thangaraj, please. Mr. A. Savaridas. Yeah, okay. Mr. J.V.S. Sigamani. Huh, done. Okay. Mr. V.V.F. Anthony. Mr. K. Kannan. Mr. A. Aruldas. Not here. Not. Mr. A. Vincent. Oh, okay. Mr. C. Nagappan. Mr. J.V.S.V. Rao. Mr. K. Sudarshan. Sure. We have us. Okay. Yeah. Mr. A. Muhammad Bacha is not here. Miss, not here, right? Okay, okay. Mr. Shiva Shanmugam, also not here. Mr. P.V. Sulapani. Mr. V. Singaraj is Mr. V. Singaraj. Sorry for the duplication. So even though I was not able to describe a lot of people amongst this, I could see and sense the pride in their eyes when, they came up on stage. So, yeah, thank you, Professor Subramaniam, for, giving away the plaques. Our gratitude. It is our time to hear from few of our esteemed guests and colleagues, and we would like to cordially invite them for their valuable insights and experiences. So first, we would like to invite Professor K.B. Ramesh to say a few words. Yeah, Professor Ramesh, yes.
Uh, Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for giving an opportunity to speak here uh, regarding the Kodaikanal Observatory, I would say. Anyway, as now it is renamed as Kodaikanal Solar Observatory. I still would prefer to say Kodaikanal Observatory because it's not just solar. Observations are being made here, and there are many other things that are going on. Anyway, to say a few words about my experience here. First, when I joined, it was really a winter season during December. And very next day, I thought I would go back. Even without giving a joining report, I thought I would go back. But luckily, at that time, Professor Bagare was the in charge. So he rushed to my room with a cup of coffee and he said, no, don't worry. Initially, it will be like this and you will be able to continue like that. That made me to continue here for 37 years. And next to that is my experiences with the ionospheric and the magnetospheric section, particularly under the guidance of Professor J. Hanvat Shastri. And I continued my continuous observations with Ionosunday, C3 Ionosunday first. Many people here have helped me out for observations. And particularly, I would say all the staff who have helped me at the ionospheric sections were superb. I think I request people to applaud it because the way in which people used to help me out, particularly during night times, it was simply fantastic because they used to come with a cup of, say, black coffee, and that is the one which really used to energize us for the observations. And in 1983, when Professor Hanvat Shastri took over another project called the Phase Path Sounder, otherwise it is also called as the Doppler Sounder. From that time onwards, I continued even the fabrication thing, that is from the rock bottom level, starting from PCBs development and all that, we used to do it here. Unlike present day, just give it a layout to some company and they'll give you a PCB. It was not like that. So we used to develop here. We used to draw with pen on the copper coated plates, and we used to develop that. And at that time also, again, several people have helped out. And again, I would say that without their help, dedicated help, I would say, and no one used to say no. At any time, just we call them, come on, this help I need, that even during midnight they used to come. That was the kind of enthusiasm they have here for the kind of observations that has been carried out over the past several years. And particularly with my personal experience in development of the phase path sounder and its observations. And I would like to certainly mention one Mr. K.S. Ramurthy. I don't know why his name has not appeared in this list. He is now, I think, residing in Madurai. He has helped us out a lot in the electronic side. And further, to say that Mr. Ganeshan, I think he's here. Yeah, he's here. Probably without his help, I wouldn't have continued observations or say 16 years, 16 hours continuously. So evening 4 o'clock we used to start, and next day morning till 8 o'clock until the signal fades out because of the sunrise. Until then we used to continue. And night time, we used to skip, say, dinner because of several other reasons. But then he used to prepare upma and coffee, tea in the midnight. And without that, probably we wouldn't have continued our observations, say, for 16 hours kind of a duration. And later, I would again say that the next project which I took up, that is a warm telescope building. I would thank our previous directors for say approvals and all that. And again, for the development of warm telescope, I took a lot of help from our staff here. And that is the one which is now, I would say, standing out as the continuation of the legacy. That means say about 110 years of wildlife data, which probably would stop if the say film supply is not there. I don't think nowadays the film suppliers are many. It's almost coming to an end, I would say. If that is the case, then naturally we have to update with the new technology where digital data straight away we must be able to obtain it. So that was the main motivation for taking up this warm telescope. And it so happens that that was the time when Professor Hassan took up the NLST program. Then we thought that this warm telescope itself should work as a prototype for the 4-channel broadband imaging system. So even now, warm telescope supplies us in the 2 channels, the images. It can be extended to 4 channels and complete the prototype for NLST, and at the same time continue the white light image data collection over the past several years, as long as it is maintained very well. And I think I have handed over this to our colleague and my junior, Professor Ravindra, and he is doing an excellent job in that way. And it's really a wonderful time that I had regarding the Kodaikanal Solar Observatory attachment. I would say it's not just like that coming over here. I was mentioning to many people here, once I'm coming to Kodaikanal means I feel homely. I would say it is a native place. That is the kind of affinity that I have developed with the people here. So everyone, in fact, as soon as I arrived here, everyone almost they have come to talk to me, and I was trying to meet them. And some people they could not even walk up to me, so I went there and shook hand and I asked them. And this is the kind of affinity once if we build in any institution, probably it will continue for not just for 1 century, or sorry, it will continue for several years, I would say. And the Kodaikanal Solar Observatory should continue like that, because even today we do not know the reason for the 11-year solar cycle. Why only 11-year solar cycle? Why can't it be some 20, 30, 50? And to do that, we must have not just 100 years of data, probably even 1,000 years of data, but who will continue? Probably our next generations after another, let's say some 10 generations, they must be able to do this job. But unless we create the data and put it up there in the worlds, who will do that? So in that way, it is really a good chance that has been given to me to develop a warm telescope here. And at the same time, a chance given to me to work at Kodaikanal Solar Observatory, and I really love it. Thank you very much.
Sir Ramesh. Thank you, Professor Ramesh. Next, let us have Professor Sundar Raman share his experiences.
Good morning to all. And I joined in Kodaikanal Observatory in the year 1992, March. And before that, itself, I was married. I was employed as a lecturer in a college, Tamil Nadu government. It was a permanent job. And then I resigned I came back here and joined as an SRE, a lower position, to take science as my career. And I would say that, I was working with Professor Sivaraman. And of course, he was a person, who was instrumental in getting me the knowledge of observations on spectro and as well as the solar tower tunnel. And in tunnel and as well as in spectro, Mr. Paramasivam and Mr. Michael, in spectro especially, they used to help a lot in the observations. And in solar tower tunnel, Mr. Devendran and as well as Mr. Hariharan, they were doing an excellent job in picking up the observations and then helping me. I would like to especially mention that, Mr. Hariharan is the icon of our Kodaikanal Solar Observatory. And I would like to have the audience clap for Mr. Hariharan because I was here for 32 years. It's a long period, almost 1/4 of the 125 years of Kodaikanal Solar Observatory. Whenever I used to go to town and then I used to meet the collector and I used to meet the bureaucrats in connection with our observatory land and other things, everybody used to talk about Mr. Hariharan. And so these are the parts of on our observation side. And later on, I would like to mention two of the resident scientists, sorry, not resident scientists, so scientists, I would say. One is here amongst us, Professor N. Gopal Swami, who has brought excellent infrastructure here for doing research. In fact, Professor Gopal Swami's stint was only for a short period of time. But despite that, he used to conduct almost alternate week, a fortnight symposium. And we had national workshop under his guidance 3 times a year, hosted by only IAA. And the institutions like TFR, PRL, and many others. For example, in OT, Mr. P.K. Manoharan was there, and IISc. I think you have done your doctor's degree in IISc with Arnab. And so, all those people, they promised that, though they will be continuing it, it was mainly because of the efforts of Professor Gopal Swami. The national workshop on solar physics was conducted thrice, 84, 85, 87. And after which, nothing was carried out in such a large scale. And we grew up from there. And afterwards, under the directorship of Professor Ramnath Kaushik, we made an MOU with Mother Teresa University. And of course, in Mother Teresa, I just wanted the organizers to invite the professors of Mother Teresa Women's University, mainly because they were not having any faculty in the field of astrophysics, though they had MSc Astrophysics and MPhil Astrophysics in their curriculum. I was in that board of studies, and unfortunately, some of our people from Bangalore, when they used to come, they may not be able to talk in vernacular. And being an university which is put up here at Kodaikanal, one has to go and teach both in Tamil, that is vernacular, and as well as in English. And eventually, it was only me who was going regularly and conducting regular classes of MSc Astrophysics and MPhil Astrophysics for a duration of nearly 11 years. And that's what you mentioned that, I have taught 300 MSc students and 50 MPhil students. It's mainly because of that. And after my leaving from this institute in March 2014, exactly 32 years, to Bangalore IAA. And for nearly 2 years, they made the faculty of physics to accompany me to the classes so that she will pick up and then she can teach astrophysics. And that's what it was, the way with which it was going on. And another one which I would like to mention that is our own person. Sorry to mention that, our own person, Professor Siraj Hassan, a solo man, has become the director of our institute, and he has shown extreme interest in developing the Kodaikanal station. And many of the things which you are able to see here, it's all happened mainly because of his tenure as a director. So I request Mr. Professor Annapurni Subramaniam to spare some funds, extra funds for the development of Kodaikanal Observatory. And so because it is one of the oldest, see, I did remember first time when I appeared for IAS examination, the question that was asked was, where is the solar observatory is installed? This is one of the IAS question. It was Kodaikanal. Many of the people, they were not aware. Okay, that was way back in 1977 or 78, what I'm telling you. And so, next thing is, under the tenure of Professor Hassan, there were many schools and conferences, workshops, and symposiums that were going on here. I do not know, because after Siraj Hassan left in 2012, I left in 2014. I do not know whether such things are going on continuously here in Kodaikanal. And another one, which I would like to emphasize on the fact that Mr. Gabriel was mentioned as one of the main supportive technical person who can establish telescope and who can establish, that coating and so on and so forth. And his own brother, Mr. George, he is as good as Mr. Gabriel, and because of him, most of the developments here at Kodaikanal has happened. And so not only that, Mr. Anthony, whom you referred, he is also brother of Mr. Gabriel. So they all contributed quite a lot. And Mr. Michael is a cousin brother of Mr. Gabriel. And Mr. Peter, before that. And there is Mr. Michael's father. And he was instrumental in the making of many of the telescopes at Kodaikanal, along with Professor, not only with Venu Bapu, before that, before A.K. Das, Anil Kumar Das. And so the entire family, they have contributed quite a lot. And so, as Professor Ramesh was telling that this Kodaikanal Observatory has a history of 125 years. And so that, we have to make quite a lot of observations and then improvising the technology and technical works. And because of my association with the teaching, I have become the member of Board of Studies in the University of Malaya and as well as National University of Singapore. And if at all our solar group member, if they go there and see the Langkawi Observatory that there at Malaysia, the observations that are taken there, they are of very high resolution. So that kind of resolution we should have, and not only that, nowadays optical observations alone, they do not matter much in making a research contribution. And it's all multi-wavelength observations that has taken over. And most of the papers of Dipankar Banerjee, if you can see that, it's all with multi-wavelength observations. So people should tie up with the optical observations, with the rest of the observations, and then try to make more contributions from Kodaikanal. That's all I would like to say. And thank you for the opportunity given to me.
Thank you, Professor Sundaraman. Thank you for your kind words for us. Next, let us have Professor Dipankar Banerjee share his reminiscences.
Yeah, so when I was a PhD student of my Guruji who has just left, I was a theoretician, so I didn't visit much Kodaikanal. But after my postdoc tenure, I joined as a faculty and my first posting was at Kodaikanal. And although it was not really anticipated, but somehow, my posting was here and I took it with full grace. And I enjoyed my time. I was here only for 1 year, but that largely, was due to the really warm heartness behavior of the people here. I will really, appreciate. I still remember the hot soup we used to serve, and I still think, that is the best soup I had in my life. So I think Annapurni has mentioned that in the morning that the legacy and the cohesiveness and the inclusiveness, all these are, the main ingredient for doing science as well. Kodaikanal, I think, has moved on. As we all know that, you could see outside also, the sun is not visible much during the day. So we have to move to other places, higher altitude for major facilities in the future. But Kodaikanal still has its own importance in terms of training, in terms of, prototype building. So any prototype you want to do for space or ground, I think still the tunnel provides the best scheme. So I think Kodaikanal still have that huge importance in the global scenario. And I was just mentioning, Annapudi, that we go around in the world, probably there are hardly any observatory which is still functional, which is of that age. And I think that itself shows the sort of commitment of people over the generations. So I think this is a really wonderful occasion, and I really want to thank all the people who have worked in the observatory for past 125 years. I think we have all contributed in a very small way, and I often mention that there are only very few generals. So our general is just coming into the stage. So I think during Siraj's time, we were all soldiers of him, and we could do certain things here. And I'm really feel good. I could contribute a little bit on the digitization. In fact, I still remember, Sir called me one day in his office and said that, this is the program you have to take over. I said, what is it? He said, the Kodaikanal digitization program is handed over to you for completion. I said, I have only worked on solar transients, which last for maximum half an hour. And you are asking me to look at a science which is at least 11 years. So the physics is very different. He said, I know you can do it. So, your interest has to grow and you have to expand your horizon in terms of the solar science also. So I'm very happy actually, sir, you gave me that responsibility, because I tried to then go back and learn dynamo theory and the other branches. And I must admit again, this is again a legacy that the student and faculty interaction, student and other staff interaction is the key. So I was fortunate to get good students, and they could then work on the data I learned from them. So we could now see that the Kodaikanal archive is probably one of the best in the world, because in the globally, internationally, I see people from Japan to US to Russia, they're using it. And we are not involved in those publications. So that means the quality of the output has been reasonable enough so that the entire community. And as you said, sir, in the morning, any data, when we look at, it's only one aspect we are looking at. There are any number of other things which can be, retrieved from the same data. So it is so much important to have any scientific data available to the global community. So, sir also said in the morning. So I think this is our responsibility for, for the observational science to make the data available to the global community. And I thank all the colleagues at Kodaikanal who has helped in the digitization process. It has taken quite a bit of long time. It's almost 10 years it has taken to get into the shape we are today. So again, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I think it's a momentous occasion, and I congratulate all the observatory staff over the century for making this place to be really, really a big landmark in the global map. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Dipankar. So next, let us have Dr. N. Gopal Swami share more anecdotes with us.
Good afternoon and vanakkam. I'm really delighted to be here and thrilled to be part of this 125 years of Kodaikanal Observatory. When I came here in the 1984, sent by Professor Bhattacharya to take care of some issues, and I was happy to take the challenge. Just within a year before that, I joined the radio astronomy group of Professor C.H.V. Sastry. And he was not very happy that I'm leaving as soon as I joined. But then it was a fantastic experience. I will not trade anything for this experience. So as soon as I came here, the Kodaikanal family immediately embraced me, and they provided full support. And Professor Bhattacharya was very happy that everything was accomplished. And by 1985, I had an opportunity to do postdoctoral fellowship in the US. So then the rest is history. But that 2 years is very, very memorable for me in this place. Now, it's appropriate to compare the Kodaikanal Observatory to a banyan tree. Right, so the banyan tree at some stage, maybe after decades and in even 100 years, you will not see where this trunk is, but then the tree exists. And all the people that worked here from the beginning until now and in the future, they are the various roots of this banyan tree. And I'm sure that this will continue and contribute to the society, to human knowledge. I remember very well that Professor Bhattacharya used to visit here frequently. And one time we had a bonfire. You know, the fuel for the fire were all the papers that were lying around in the observatory for decades, you know, including the tea expenses, the grocery bills, and so on. Just behind this place, we had a small pit dug out, and then we put all those things and we're burning them. Although we were introducing, you know, carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide in the atmosphere, but it cleared a lot of stuff. In that process, we realized that it's important. There are a lot of instruments lying around. We cannot burn them, of course. And we thought it is important to keep them in a museum. So we started this museum in that period. And now I see that it has really grown fantastic. And yesterday I was here, and so many people came from outside. It's a fantastic outreach activity, and a lot of young people get inspired by that. And we heard from Ramesh and Sundaraman, and actually those people were very helpful in continuing science discussions rather than just infrastructure developments, and that was a very, very useful experience. After I left, I continued to collaborate and come to Kodaikanal. I've participated in many events, symposia and schools, International Heliophysical Year, International Space Weather Initiative. In all those initiatives, we have IAA people participating, and they continue to add knowledge to the community. Also, I should mention that I continue to collaborate so that I can bring down my age, you know, with collaborate with students. The average age always goes down for me. So I feel good about it. And we just concluded an Indo-US program, and our MC, Professor Piali Chatterjee, is a member of the Indian team. And they organized several meetings between in the US and here in India. So I continue to collaborate with them, and very happy to be part of it. And finally, I want to mention that even though when I was here, I was not working on any of these data, afterwards, I took up a project trying to study the polarity reversal of the sun. You know, every 11 years, the sun switches its polarity in the north and south. There is some interesting property that the poles do not reverse at the same time. And there is some kind of asymmetry between north and south. And for several solar cycles, you have the north reversing first and then the south. And then for several other cycles, the whole thing reversed. So there seems to be, Ramesh mentioned that, oh, why not 30, 40 years of solar cycle? Actually, it is true. There is a 40-year cycle. About 4 to 5 cycles, the asymmetry switches. I had 3 nice data sets, but we had some gaps before 1940s. So I had 2 papers from Kodaikanal that I was able to use. One is the Dash to the Poles paper by Evershed, and the other is a similar rush to the pole phenomenon studied by Professor Ananthakrishnan in 1952. It's a publication in 1952. So I used those 2. And then I also came to the Kodaikanal library and was able to look at the prominence data and was able to complete the missing gap so that I can establish there is a 4 to 5 cycle periodicity in the reversal of solar poles. So personally, this was a great contribution, and my project becomes complete with the Kodaikanal data. So I think, as many speakers mentioned, the Kodaikanal data can provide information originally that was not intended, but we can extract information for doing other science. So with that, I thank you all for giving me the opportunity, and best wishes. Thank you.
Yeah, so actually, this mobility grant that we have. So for a long time, Gopal Swami was asking us that why not have one of the meetings in Kodaikanal, and we were like, no, we'll have in Bangalore, it's better, or we'll have somewhere else, Udaipur, somewhere else, but not so much in Kodaikanal. So he was, for this last meeting, he was dilly-dallying, he was busy with his moon mission and all that. So then the moment I told him that, Gopal, we have this felicitation ceremony on 1st April, are you coming or not? So he just jumped that, yeah, I want to be there because, I have spent, even though it is only 2 years, I want to be here. So yeah, thank you, Gopal, for, making your time out of your busy schedule. So next, let us have Professor Hiremat tell us about his experiences.
Thank you very much for the organizers, and you people have done an excellent job. But few things, of course, I've not worked in the Kodaikanal Observatory, but basically I'm third share. But later on, I have used hundreds of data in order to understand the origin and physics of solar flares. See, but in addition that, when I joined here, after a few years, integrated calcium profiles have to be digitized and try to understand how the calcium activity varies with respect to different cycles. Then I assisted the Jagdev Singh so that, they brought out many interesting results. Later on, the people know that here, especially the students and the newcomers, they should not feel that the dissertation is the only recently. That's not true. See, during Kaushik's period, Professor Gokhale, Jagdev Singh, and myself, we have digitized. There was the digitizer was there. We have digitized 100 years of data, and it was stored in the magnetic tape. And later on, Jagdev Singh and his colleagues, they did, they brought out very interesting results. Then afterwards, I moved to the Tokyo University for the postdoctoral fellowship, where I worked for the helioseismic inversions and so on. Then I returned back, but for me, still it was there in my aim that see, we have many hundreds of data, and people are telling, and that during that time when I came back, the instrumentation, the people who used to tell the instrument, no, the data is already over and nothing will come out. No, I say no. So much information is there, so much physics is there. We have to understand from that data. So after I return back, then I would like to understand how the sun's radius varies with respect to solar cycle. Then people say that, okay, the sun's radius varies with anti-correlated or correlated, something like that. But that would be against the fundamental physics. If you vary the little bit of radius variations, then you have to compensate for the gravitational energy and so on. But we had taken the Korean data of nearly hundreds of years of data with French colleagues. Then we analyzed very systematically. Of course, that DCIS data is done by the very latest data. Then we came to the conclusion that sun's radius does not vary at all. Okay, it remains constant. But during 2014, when I returned back, they manually displayed the sunspot data from the white light pictures. Then we'd like to probe whether the dynamics of the sunspots is related to the triggering of phase. In fact, it was very interesting. We found out that when there is the abnormal rotation rate of the sunspot, longitudinal movement, then later on the phase will trigger from the. But this data is used from the Kodaikanal Solar Observatory. Okay. The question is, the people say that it's due to reconnection. How the energy is produced is due to reconnection of the magnetic field. But the question is where is in the up or it in the interior. Then we found out that it is in the interior is maybe around 0.935 solar radius. So these are in that sense, at least the present generation. See, we should not feel that, I mean, nothing is there in this data. I mean, a lot of information, a lot of physics there. If you understand the sun's energy, sun's physics, and so because sun is very important because everywhere it is used, even for astronomer, the basic level is sun's radius, mass, chemical composition, etc. So hence, if you understand the sun properly, and its effect on the Earth's climate and all, then we should study the sun continuously. And that's what is going on in this observatory. The sun's observation is going on, and it is archival is done. I hope, I wish also, it should continue. And we should appreciate the government of India that they are encouraging. In future also, they should encourage. But the one more thing, last thing I would like to mention that I found out that the students or the faculty members earlier when we were the working, I mean they were about nearly the 30 to 40 members, but now they are very small community. It's only about 25% community. So I'd like to bring to the director and the governing council that some more recruitment has to be done in order to analyze the data, in order to understand the physics, and in addition, because the National Solar Lost Telescope is also coming. For that also people are required. And in addition, Aditya, the space probe. So many people are required. So in that sense, so the recruitment has to be done. Some more recruitment for in case of solar physics. So saying a few words, I will continue. Again, thanks to all the organizers, and you people have done excellent work.
Thank you, Dr. Girama. Next, let us have one of the illustrious students of the observatory share his experiences, Dr. Shankar Subramaniam.
Good afternoon to all. First of all, let me thank IEA for having this 125 years of celebrations at Kodaikanal. Again, as KP Ramesh said, it's a homely place for me because I spent almost like 2-3 years, not continuously, but at least for a few months every year for observations. I won't take much time, just want to give few things which I learned being at Kodaikanal, especially two things. One is the techniques to do solar observations, and the second thing is the patience. The techniques I learned from many of these stalwarts which you have seen, especially the Tunnel Tower Telescope people. And this is one of the best spectrograph you would see ever in any of the observatories in the world. We have a spectral dispersion. The dispersion of this spectrograph is of the order of a few milliangstroms in the wavelength of 5,000, 6,000 nanometer. And the image size, I mean, you can actually see a big image in the tunnel. That I mean provoked me to do certain things which helped me with the thesis. So whole of my thesis was based on the Kodaikanal Tunnel Telescope. I learned how to look at the lines from the sun. I mean, these days you have, you have many techniques to do that, but those days we have the chart. I mean, again, learn from Devendran, sitting with the chart and looking through the spectrograph, and then slowly rotating the grating to see what are the lines going in, which are the solar line, which are the atmospheric line. Those are the things which I learned quite a bit from there. I mean, then I think when I initiated the program, the first thing which I wanted to do is many of the people discouraged me not to use tunnel because of the oblique reflections in the telescopes, which introduces the instrumental polarization. So any polarimetric studies may not be of much use. Was the advice given to me. But I mean, along with my guide, Professor Venkatakrishnan, we decided to go ahead and try it out. So we did develop an ellipsometry to measure the instrumental polarization. And that was a real, what you call, jackpot for me, because until then, people have been modeling with aluminized mirror or whichever coating which you use for the mirror. But for the first time, we found out that it's not only the aluminized mirror, it is also the oxide layers which forms on top of the aluminized mirror when you take it out from the coating plant. And over time, I mean, it forms an oxide layer. That needs to be modeled if you want to really model your instrumental polarization from the measured spectropolarimetric data. So that is the one which currently people are using it internationally also, including an extra layers on top of the mirrors for their modeling of the instrumental polarization. So that was a turning point for me. I think that allowed me to continue my career in polarimetry. Now I think I have already done 3, 4 spectropolarimetry, 2 in India and 1 in US, and 1 hopefully we'll get some good data from Aditya L1. Patience is something which I learned. I mean, as you see, I mean, morning when you come, you will have very bright sunlight, but by 10 o'clock, it'll all be clouded out. So initially I used to get frustrated. I used to go back to Bangalore, but my guide used to tell me that, I mean, no, you should not come back. You stay there until you get a good data, don't come back. So I used to stay here, and during this cloudy time, I used to look at the sky, pray for a good sky. And I also used to walk around to talk to people and go to the library. And it's one of the best library you would see here with all the olden collections. And that made me think that this is one of the best place to write your thesis. So I wrote my thesis here because it's a very peaceful place. If allowed, I would like to come here to write my papers also, because it's a very quiet place where you can concentrate on your work and complete your work. So, and finally, I just want to tell you, given that this is one of the best spectrograph, I think we can still utilize it for some aspects of spectral signatures from the sun, like fiber fine structures of some of the lines are still not fully understood from the sun. And also the thing called quantum interferences in the spectropolarimetric observations, what we call it is a second solar spectra, where we do see interferences from the lower level to the higher levels when the magnetic field is neither, I mean, allowed it to split the lines completely, or it is not fully a single line. So there is a quantum interference regime, which is something which we can do it given this very high spectral resolution spectrograph. So to the students, if any of you are interested, this is one of the best spectropolarimetric instruments which you can develop. And I mean, I'm also very happy to see that the spectropolarimetry, I mean, Genesis is continued with Nagaraju taking it up and continuing it. And so I would wish all the best to the team to continue on it. And anytime, if any support is needed, I'm very happy to support the team. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shankar. So let me also mention here that the Solar Physics Group at IIA organizes this annual winter school for masters and early PhD and even now late undergrad students in January or something. And we have been inviting Shankar to give lectures in that. And he has been, in spite of his busy schedule, he has been finding time to come and deliver lectures. So yeah, thank you, Shankar. Next, Shankar also mentioned the library. So I should invite Mrs. Vageshwari to say a few words if she's here. Oh, yes, yes, yes.
I'm so happy to be here. I know I wasn't too well, but I thought I must go to Kodaikanal. This is where I joined. And I joined in 1975 when about 20 of us all were together. There was a big recruitment after IEA became a autonomous body. And it's not easy because lived in Chennai, coming to Kodaikanal was a big change. I came here and I was one of the few ladies. Maybe there was one more lady in the observatory. And coupled with all the ghost stories which Rajmohan used to tell us, he's no more, but he was a very fun-loving person, and he scared us. I almost ran to the bus stop thinking I would go back to Chen. But the group I had was so good, they said, no way. And once I saw the library, I said, I'm destined to be here. So that was the thing. And I had my interview in Bangalore, and Professor JCB was our chairman of the committee. He said, do you know how to climb a ladder? I said, my goodness, are they going to ask me to clean the roof? I said, I'll try. I am so I can climb a ladder, I think. So when I came to Kodaikanal and saw the library, oh my goodness, that is what it was. The books were stacked from the floor to the roof. Please, if you have not seen, please see the library. I think all of you would have seen. Yeah, and it was so meticulously organized. I was the first professionally trained librarian. And then Dr. Bapu himself came and said, I know you don't know any astronomy and astrophysics. I better teach you a little bit. So that was a wonderful experience for me. For a week, he just taught me the basics kind of thing. He said, read up, and then we'll classify. So 1 or 2 days, I was lucky that he spent with me. It was definitely Bapu's way of, working. Even if it's a gardener, it's a sweeper, or anybody, he will spend a few days to teach them what they should do. So with that, and I would also like to say a few words about the binding section we had. It started in You won't believe it started in Mickey Smith's time, 1901, when all these books from Madras were brought to Kodaikanal on mule carriages. Took 6 months. So Mickey Smith saw to it. He was the first director, Charles Mickey Smith. Saw to it all the books reached just before the rings, so nothing happened to it. It reached in March 1900. And then he was looking for a place. He is the one who built the library building, and he stacked things. And then he said, I need a binding section now. So he, everywhere in the workshop or in things, you have this legacy coming down. We had 3 generations of the binders. It was very amusing. I'll read out the names. And see here. Sorry. Here's the binder's names. Veeragan is the last person. Yeah. So the first person was C. Krishnaswamy Pillai. He was there for a while, and then his son Govindaswamy Pillai, and then his son Veer Raghavan took over. So when I joined, Veer Raghavan was just retiring from the binding section, and we had 2 people working in the binding section who were trained after Veer Raghavan. They were Krishnamurti and Revati. Revati was the first lady appointed in the observatory, trained binder. And after a few months, Krishnamurti was also appointed. The funny story was they were together for 2-3 years, and then Veeragavan decided that they should get married. So Devati and Krishnamurti got married in that time, and they were excellent couple. And whoever joined the observatory were first invited by them. Revati was an excellent cook, so she made all that a million dishes for every person and made them at home. And then the other thing was the shifting of the library. So in the history of astronomy, modern Indian astronomy, there were 2 shiftings in the library. One was when Mickey Smith brought everything from Madras Observatory. He saw it to it, they all came in one piece. And the second shifting was in 1976, when we shifted from Kodaikanal Observatory. Most of the books were taken from here to Bangalore. Bangalore became the headquarters. So we had a person named Manikam. Some may not like him, but he was a jolly good fellow. He was from the army, retired, and he knew each and everything in the library. He had a remarkable memory. So if anybody wanted something, I had just joined. He said, "Madam, don't worry, I know where it is." He would pull up that and give it to them. And he packed the whole thing in boxes, wrapped them with the plastic covers, put the numbers, and sent 3/4 of the library from Kodaikanal to Bangalore. And not a single book was damaged or wet or anything, and nothing happened to it. So we just packed the whole thing and sent it to Kodaikanal. So, these are the few things I thought. They're not very technical, but I thought you'll be amused, amused by the things. Thank you so much. There are 2 papers of mine and Christy One is on Mickey Smith and his whole life history of Charles Mickey Smith. We wrote a paper on it's called Founder of Kodaikanal Observatory. It's in Current Science. We'll display it. The second one is in our magazine called Doot, where we wrote extensively about the library. Heritage, we call it Heritage Library. And maybe in future, we may not need books, but it will be fun. It will be useful for people to come and see that. Please, I'll put it in the library if somebody wants to see it. And then one more thing, we got so much interested in the archives, we wrote a paper on Mickey Smith, and then we read somewhere he was buried in a church in Kodaikanal. So I think it was Manikam or Gabriel who took us to the cemetery and found the graveyard there with a cross, and it said Mickey Smith and his sister were buried here. So it was a very thrilling thing for us when we were writing the paper. Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me. I feel very, very honored to be here. I thank the director and all the members.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mrs. Vageshwari, for your services and being a custodian of the archive of the history of Kodaikanal Library. Next, I would like to, yeah, since she also mentioned Mickey Smith, Anand tells me that Mickey Smith's granddaughter actually contacted Christina and then provided them with the burial photos and things like that that they have. Poxon's granddaughter. Okay. So Pogson's burial pictures were provided by. Okay, so yeah, that's why I asked Anand to. Okay, sorry. I think it's creating more confusion than. Okay. Okay, so next, I would like to invite Mr. N. Shivaraj to share a few words.
I thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to talk to in this special occasion, 125 years of anniversary celebration, a great memorable situation. So I joined in 1978. Then at that time, in I&M C3 ionosphere recorder, I was trying to maintain. Then under Professor J. Chaudhary, but somehow that recorder, it was working beautifully until 1983. So we managed to run the recorder because it's full of vacuum tubes, around 120 vacuum tubes in the recorder. So it was the US and China C3 ionosphere recorder was obsolete. It became obsolete. Only our C3 ionosphere recorder was working beautifully. Then after that, I switched over to tunnel telescope. Initially, the tunnel telescope was fully manual. Then we planned to automate, upgrade, step by step. So initially, the control system, it's a Grubb-Parsons diagonal drive. It was also a vacuum tube version. Slowly, we tried to modify remove the vacuum tube version and go for the upgraded version. Then we started with that. Then we developed a control system. Slowly, diagonal drive. Diagonal drive we switched over to Siemens drive. Siemens drive with very high precision tracking. Then that was done. Then we went for the grating automation. Grating, it was taking enormous time for going from one line to another line. Almost half a day, observers were facing a great difficulty. Then we thought of, in consultation with Dr. K.B. Ramesh, I tried to make a automation for the grating drive. Then Physics Instruments from Germany, we imported a rotation stage that was successfully installed, and the system started working beautifully. Observers felt very comfortable with the grating positioning. Then slowly we modified the entire tunnel transport building also. Step by step, we wanted to improve everything. Then the entire control system we have updated to the latest technology and with high precision tracking and everything. Then it was very successful, and I was very thankful to our IEA director and the administration. They were giving full support and coordination for carrying out all this work. And I feel very happy that even now, the entire system, whatever we have modified, upgraded, and automated, is still working beautifully, and the observations are successfully going on. I'm very thankful to all of you and giving me opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shivraj. Next, may we invite Mr. P. Paramashivam to share his thoughts?
சான்றோர்களும் நிறைந்த இந்த சபையில் எனக்கு அவ்வளவாக இங்கிலீஷ் தெரியாது, ஆங்கிலம் தெரியாது. ஆனால் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் பண்ணிக்கொள்வேன். அதே மாதிரி ஹிந்தியும் ஓரளவுக்கு அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் பண்ணிக்கொள்வேன். தான் இந்த ஆபீஸில் நான் தொடர்ந்து வேலை செய்ய முடிந்தது. 1959ஆம் ஆண்டு நான் இந்த ஆபீஸில் கிளாஸ் 4ஆக சேர்ந்தேன். அப்பொழுது டாக்டர் தாஸ் ஐயக்கி தாஸ் அவர்கள் டைரக்டராக இருந்தார்கள். அதன் பிறகு ஒரு வருடம் தான் இருக்கும் பொழுது டாக்டர் வேணுபாபு அவர்கள் வந்தார்கள், டைரக்டராக வந்தார்கள். அப்பொழுது அவரை முதல் சந்தித்த மனிதன் நானாக தான் இருந்தேன். அப்போது என்னை அழைத்து இந்த ஆபீஸ் காம்பவுண்ட் போறாவும் எனக்கு சுட்டி காட்ட முடியுமா என்று கேட்டார். சரி, நான் காட்டுகிறேன் சார் என்று. அப்பொழுது இந்த ஆபீஸினுடைய மொத்த பரப்பளவு 70 ஏக்கர் தான் என்று நினைக்கிறேன். அதை சுற்றி காட்டினவொன்னா அவருக்கு ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா போயிடுச்சு. அவருக்கு நிறைய அவர் காலத்துல இருந்து தான் இந்த ஆபீஸ் இம்ப்ரூவ்மெண்ட் ஆயிடுச்சு. அவர் இங்க வந்த உடனே நிறைய பேப்பர் ப்ரொடியூஸ் பண்ணிட்டார். அந்த பேப்பர் எல்லாம் அந்த காலத்துல எந்த வித வசதியும் இல்லை, டெக்னாலஜி அந்த அளவுக்கு வளர கிடையாது. இப்ப வளர்ந்த அளவுக்கு அந்த காலத்துல டெக்னாலஜியே கிடையாது. ஒரு பேப்பர் அவங்க ப்ரொடியூஸ் பண்ற பேப்பரை எழுதணும்னா காப்பி பண்ணி கொடுத்தோம்னா அதை நாங்க போட்டோகிராஃபி பேப்பர்ல தான் நாங்க காப்பி பண்ணணும். அப்ப அவங்க பேப்பரை காப்பி பண்ணி நெகட்டிவ் பண்ணி அதுல அவங்க காப்பி பண்ணி அதை கிரேஸ் பண்ணணும். அதை காய வச்சு அதை கிரேஸ் பண்ணி அதை ட்ரிம் பண்ணி அதை ஒரு புக்கு மாதிரி கொடுத்து அவங்ககிட்ட கொடுப்பேன். இந்த மாதிரி நிறைய டாக்டர் சிவராமன்ல இருந்து நிறைய பேர் பேப்பர் ப்ரொடியூஸ் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. அவங்களுக்கு தான் என்னால இயன்ற பூர்வமா எல்லாத்துக்கும் இந்த உதவி நான் செஞ்சுட்டு வந்திருக்கேன். இரவு பகல் பார்க்க மாட்டேன். எனக்கு தெர் இஸ் நோ ஆஃப். நான் ஆஃப் எடுத்தா பாபி சத்தம் போடுவாரு, நீ பா வேலைக்கு அப்படின்னு. அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு இதெல்லாம் நான் வேலை செஞ்சேன். ஆனால் சந்தோஷமா செஞ்சேன். எனக்கு கடமை உணர்வு அதிகமா இருந்துச்சு. அதனால எல்லோரும் என்னை நம்பினாங்க. என்கிட்ட வேலை கொடுக்குறவங்க எல்லோரும் என் மேல ஒரு நம்பிக்கை வச்சிருந்தாங்க. 11 கொடுத்தா இவன் உடனே செஞ்சு கொடுப்பான் அப்படின்ற ஒரு நம்பிக்கை. அந்த பேப்பர் என்கிட்ட கொடுத்தவொடனே நான் அவங்களுக்கு எல்லாத்துக்கும் அந்தந்த டைம்ல செஞ்சு கொடுத்துருவேன். அப்ப என் மேல அவங்க உள்ள என் மேல உள்ள கிரேஸ், ஃபெய்த், இது ரெண்டும் தான் எனக்கு இந்நாள் வரைக்கும் இந்த ஆபீஸ்ல இந்த மேடையில நின்று பேசுறதுக்கு ஒரு வாய்ப்பு கொடுத்துருக்கு. இந்த வாய்ப்பு எனக்கு இந்த ஆபீஸ்ல வேலை செஞ்சது இதை ரொம்ப நான் விரும்புகிறேன். இங்க வேலை செஞ்சது எனக்கு போன ஜென்மத்துல நான் ஏதோ செஞ்சிருக்கணும் போல இருக்கு. நல்ல காரியம் செஞ்சதுனால தான் இந்த ஆபீஸ்ல எனக்கு வேலை கிடைச்சி. இதை நான் செய்யறத பார்க்கும்போது இந்த ஆராய்ச்சி எல்லா ஆராய்ச்சிக்கும் முடிவுண்டு. ஆனா இந்த அஸ்ட்ரோபிசிக்ஸ் மட்டும் தேர் இஸ் நோ எண்ட். இது போய்கிட்டே இருக்கு. இது எவ்வளவு கண்டுபிடிச்சிருக்காங்க, என்ன செஞ்சிருக்காங்க. இப்ப ரொம்ப இம்ப்ரூவ்மெண்ட் ஆகிருக்கு. இந்த உலகம் ரொம்ப ஃபாஸ்டா போயிட்டு இருக்கு. இந்த டெக்னாலஜி எல்லாம் பார்க்கும்போது ரொம்ப ஆச்சரியமா இருக்கு. இந்த பாக்கெட்லயே டெக்னாலஜி இது வச்சிருக்கேன். இதை பார்க்கும்போது ரொம்ப ஆச்சரியமா இருக்கு. எவ்வளவு டெய்லி நான் படிக்கிறேன், இன்னும் படிச்சுக்கிட்டு தான் இருக்கேன். இந்த ஆபீஸை பற்றியும் இதை பற்றியும் இந்த யூனிவர்ஸ் பற்றியும் இதெல்லாம் நான் படிச்சுக்கிட்டு தான் இருக்கேன். எனக்கு ரொம்ப ஆச்சரியமா இருக்கு. இந்த ஆபீஸ்ல வேலை செஞ்சது எனக்கு ஒரு வரப்பிரசாதமாக தான் நான் என்றேன். எனக்கு என்னுடைய ஃபாதர் அந்த காலத்துல எதுவுமே கிடையாது. டவுனை சுற்றணும்னா கயிறை பிடிச்சு இழுக்கணும், கயிறை பிடிச்சு இழுக்கணும். கிளாக்கு அந்த டெலஸ்கோப் ஆப்ரேட் பண்ணணும்னா கிளாக் சுற்றணும். கிளாக் அட்டன் பண்ணாதான் அந்த டெலஸ்கோப் மூவ் ஆகும். அப்பேற்பட்ட ஒரு காலம். அந்த மாதிரி இருந்தப்ப நாங்கள் எங்க ஃபாதர் 1935 இங்க ஜாயின் பண்ணியிருக்காரு. 22 வருஷம் இங்க வேலை செஞ்சாரு. வேலை செய்யும் போது அவருக்கு 1957 அவர் டைட் ஆனாரு. அப்ப டியூட்டியில இருக்கும்போதே டைட் ஆயிட்டாரு. நான் 59ல இங்க வந்து ஜாயின் பண்ணேன். 59 லாஸ்ட்ல ஜாயின் பண்ணேன். ஆபீஸ்ல கிளாஸ் 4 ஜாயின் பண்ணேன். அப்பதான் இந்த பாபு அவர்கள் வந்தாங்க. அவங்க மூலமா வேலை செஞ்சு நிறையா நான் வேலை செஞ்சுருக்கேன். அப்புறம் 40 வருஷம் இந்த சோலார்லேயே வேலை செஞ்சேன். சோலார் செக்ஷன் ஒன்லி சோலார் அந்த டாக்டர் வேலைன்னாக்கா அவங்க கொடுக்குற பேப்பரை எல்லாம் காப்பி பண்ணி அவங்களுக்கு வேண்டிய அளவுக்கு எல்லாத்தையும் இது பண்ணி கொடுத்தேன். அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு இதில் இருந்துச்சு. வேலை செஞ்சுட்டு வந்தேன். இன்னைக்கும் எனக்கு இந்த ஆஃபீஸில் வேலை செய்யும்போது நான் எங்கள் ஃபாதர் ஒரு 22 வருஷம் வேலை செஞ்சாரு. நான் என்னுடைய 40 வருஷத்தை ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா முடிச்சேன். என்னுடைய மகன் இதில் வேலை செஞ்சுக்கிட்டு இருக்கான். அவன் 2-3 மாசத்துல ரிட்டையர்ட் ஆக போறான். அவனுக்கு கிட்டத்தட்ட 40 வருஷம் வேலை செஞ்சுட்டான். எங்களுடைய 100 வருஷ சர்வீஸ் இந்த ஆபீஸ்ல எங்களுடைய பிரயத்தனம் ட்ரஸ்டும் தான் எங்களுக்கு உலகம் எதுவும் கிடையாது. அதனால அந்த பேச்சை முடிச்சுக்கிறேன். எனக்கு மாண்டம் எனக்கு
Thank you, Mr. Paramashivam, for emotional words. May I invite Mr. Ponnu Rangam to share his reminiscences? Mr. Ponnu Rangam? He's probably not here now. Okay, so then we could ask Mr. F. Gabriel. Mr. Gabriel?
Good afternoon, everyone. I joined this institute as a trainee, I can say, because after my school studies, uh, my mother asked my father-in-law, is her own brother, to put me here. And stuff. I was moving with a priest in the church. I spent my time in the streets. So she wanted to divert me to another field. So that time, Mr. A.P. Jayarajan, who made our 2.3-meter telescope mirror, he was the in charge for the technical side. And after seeing me, he said, Mr. Peter, he is a very small boy. Let him just come and learn things. After that, we will consider. Then I joined in the workshop. I don't know anything about that in the workshop. And I had a good opportunity. Our senior people used to go for tea break. For 1 hour, they won't come. After 1 hour only, they will be back to the workshop. So I started utilizing the time. So I'm a keen observer for anything. And I used to see what they are doing. And I will do in their absence, I started doing things. And I used to do in the lathe also. They put some precious things, but I won't bother. I don't know what to do. I just remove it, and I will put some other rods and start running. Then moment they come out, they will say, oh, someone has disturbed my sittings. Maybe Mr. Peter, who is the only guy, you won't bother about that. But the culprit is me. So I learned things like that. Then slowly I started doing works. Then after 1 or 2 years, I was taken to the workshop. By the time, our AP Jayarajan sir called me. They called me as Gabri. Gabri, you are going to start 13 mirror grinding. We need a strong person to handle the optics. So why don't you come to the optical workshop? So I started working in the optical workshop. The 13-inch mirror was put, and I was there for till the figuring starts, up to the grinding surface, everything. Up to the polishing stage, I was there in the workshop. Then that time, our 40-inch telescope started arriving into the Kowloon. But the telescope buildings was not completed. So we had to make some arrangement for unloading the telescope rods from the truck, and we had to preserve it. So I was one of the person who was selected for the team. So I was called. Then we went there and make some arrangement and a lot of the things. Then that was my turning point. I spent my more time at Kowloon. I went on 1970, in the age of 20, I went to Kowloon, and a break, about 15 years back, I returned. But even after 15 years back, I was called, I was invited. I'm thankful for our director and our institute. They asked me to give me experience, share my experience to the youngsters. So now I'm very happy to do the things. Still, I'm contributing my experience, sharing my experience with the young engineers, and I learned many things from the qualified engineers, many things. Now I can handle anything. I can say anything. I can handle anything related to the astronomers, whatever, whether it's the instrument or the telescope or the dome or anything I'm ready to help. And I'm sorry, because I learned from them. So I'm giving back to them. And by God's grace, I don't have any issue because mainly because of the institute. Why I'm saying institute is I'm not taking any food from hotel or anything, and I'm not getting any other income from other than my salary. So I am eating the institute money. I'm eating so that made me healthy, and I'm thankful to the institute. Thank you very much for inviting me, son. Thank you very much all. Thank you, sir.
Very beautiful words, Mr. Gabriel. Now I would like to request Professor Ravindra, who is the professor in charge of Kodaikanal Observatory and also the chair of the organizing committee, to read out an email of words wishing Kodaikanal Observatory for its 125th anniversary. So I think Anand, please display the email on the projector.
Yeah, this is some message by Dr. Bala Subramaniam, who was at the National Solar Observatory in the past. Now he is in the defense somewhere in US, and he did PhD under J.S. Shastri, if I am correct. Bhattacharya, okay, under Professor Bhattacharya here, and he developed a polarimeter for his thesis, and this is basically magnetic field measurements in sunspots. So he has sent his message. I am just reading his message here. Greetings. Please convey this message to the director of IIA, Professor Annapurni Subramaniam. I am happy to know that Kodaikanal Observatory, Indian Institute of Astrophysics, is celebrating its 125 years. This makes me very proud that observatory continues its tradition of serving the Indian and global space community through its rich contributions to astrophysics and space weather. International community and the World Meteorological Forum are ever grateful for the rich ionospheric, solar, and astrophysical data that the Kodaikanal Observatory and the Indian Institute of Astrophysics have contributed to the understanding our planetary geophysical systems. I am very grateful to the staff of Kodaikanal Observatory at that time who enabled me to do my graduate thesis during my stay there. My particular thanks to the people at workshop who helped me fabricate the polarimeters and understand the laminar flow systems that influenced my understanding of adaptive optics. I fondly remember Mr. P. Devendran, who was eager to help me there every day and count the seconds in the dark till our Kodak film was being developed. Till the time went off, many innumerable colleagues there kept me company with the stories of local developments. I am grateful to Dr. Gopal Swami, who helped me during my challenging days of wanting to complete my thesis with his thoughtful discussions. Dr. Venkatakrishnan and my advisor, Dr. J.C. Bhattacharya, always encouraged me to advise my knowledge and personally went to ensure my success. I am always grateful to all the staff of Kodaikanal Observatory and the Indian Institute of Astrophysics in Bangalore. I am thankful to my colleagues, Dr. Anupama, Mr. Arvind Paranjape, and Dr. Tushar Prabhu helped me with my observational work and data analysis. I wish the Kodaikanal Observatory and the Indian Institute of Astrophysics the very best in all its future endeavors and in supporting the global space environment and astrophysical communities. Thank you, and very respectfully, Bala K.S. Bala Subramaniam.
Yeah, thank you, Ravindra, for this. Next, before we come to the end of this felicitation ceremony, there are a couple of people we would like to honor who are superannuating soon. So the first one, so first let me invite our Dean, Professor Ishwar Reddy, to give them the token of appreciation. Yeah, so let me invite Mr. Devendran. Mr. Devendran. Okay, so by the time, okay, is he coming or? Okay, so yeah, let me invite Mrs. Kasturi Bai in the meantime. Mrs. Kasturi Bai. She was working in the daily beauty sunscreen. A documentary beauty sun expert is exclusively available on the download now. Mrs. Custom. But an ecosystem in itself where, there are a lot of these different sections which are, existing in collaboration and, harmony of each other. So, yeah, I think we could now all conclude the ceremony. A big thank you to all of you who took the pain to, come here and, honor us. And after this, if the organizing committee, if you have any announcements.